Well, hi guys, welcome back to the Brazilian Expat. I hope you're all doing fantastic. On my latest episode, I was talking a little bit about why I think now is a good time to invest in Brazil, especially if you're buying any sort of property or maybe a piece of land here in Brazil. Here in Brazil, it's actually one of the easiest countries in the world to purchase any sort of property. You don't need to be a Brazilian resident. You don't need any special sort of documents. You know, the property will be 100% yours on paper, and it's a pretty straightforward process. However, there are certain documents that you will need, and if you are moving to Brazil or thinking about just spending any sort of significant time here in Brazil, then there is one document that you really need to get, and it should be your first priority when you arrive here in Brazil. Now, the document that I'm talking about is a document that you will be using all of the time while you're staying here in Brazil. And it basically just looks like this. It's called a CPF, and it basically means Cadastro de Pessoas Físicas, which just means, you know, it's just a tax registration number for individuals. And this card here is pretty useless. You know, the first thing that you should do when you get this document is just, you need to remember this number here. Just memorize it as soon as you get here, because you will be using this number for whatever purchases or whatever you do. This is really not an identification number. You know, this doesn't have any photos or any sort of fingerprints on it. That's something totally different, and something you will only be able to obtain, of course, if you are a Brazilian resident. When you have gotten your permanent visa here in Brazil, then of course you will need to get a different type of document. And these documents I will cover in another episode, but there's basically one for foreigners and of course one for, you know, Brazilian born residents. So you might ask, what is, you know, the main purpose of the CPF? Well, the main purpose is to serve as an identification of taxpayers here in Brazil. And although it serves, you know, it is absolutely mandatory for any Brazilian resident, you know, I believe over the ages of 12 years old, to obtain a CPF number. It is a number that is needed for any sort of purchase here in Brazil. If you purchase a house, if you purchase a car, if you purchase a plane ticket, if you go to any sort of store and buy any sort of electronics, maybe even furniture, you know, it is just used all over, and they will always ask for your CPF number. And that is why I tell you that this is going to be the most important document that you will ever need. As soon as you come to Brazil, if you're going to spend any sort of amount of time, especially if you're going to buy any sort of property, you know, this is going to be your first priority, just to obtain this CPF, because without it, you know, you're not gonna obtain anything. You know, it's gonna just be impossible to live here. What can also happen is, with this CPF here, if you are behind on your taxes, your payments, or, you know, if there is any other sort of dispute, you know, payment disputes, then what they can do is your CPF can actually be canceled. And I guess that is the way they can control your spending. You know, if you are behind on your income taxes, then your CPF will inevitably be suspended, and you will not be able to make any sort of purchases. So it kind of makes sense why they have this CPF number here. So what is the process for you as a foreigner to get a CPF when you arrive into Brazil? Now, it is a super straightforward, simple process. The only thing that you need is you need your own passport. You go to any post office and you basically tell them you want to open up a CPF number. So you pay a small fee and you get your receipt, and this receipt is extremely important because this is where you need to take it over to the Receita Federal. The Receita Federal, I have it open right here in front of me because actually had to translate it, what it actually means in English, but it actually means the Special Department of Federal Revenue of Brazil. Basically like a tax office, I would guess. But it is basically, you know, where they control all taxes and everything that has to do with taxes here in Brazil. So you need to take that receipt that you got from the post office and you take that to the Receita Federal, and they will provide you with this card and your own CPF number. It is as simple as that, and it's just a small fee that you pay. You know, it was like 7 reais years ago. I don't know what it is today because I got mine in June of 2007. And I don't really remember how I did it, how much I paid. But anyways, it is a very simple process, and anybody with a passport, it doesn't, you know, you don't have to have a residency here, you don't have to have a permanent visa. Anybody, even tourists, can get it. So it's a super easy process. And like I said, you need it for basically everything. So as soon as you get to Brazil, just get this card because it just makes your life so much easier. So guys, that is basically it. I mean, that was just my short version of, my short explanation of why you need to get this card as soon as you get to Brazil. I hope this information was somewhat useful. And as always, if you like my content, give me a thumbs up. And maybe even subscribe to my channel. With that, guys, good luck with all your adventures and travels, and hopefully I'll see you soon again on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.